Emily and Jack appeared to live the kind of life most people could only envy. Jack was the husband everyone respected, diligent, compassionate, and endlessly devoted to his wife. Together, they seemed to complement one another flawlessly. From lazy weekend breakfasts to warm evenings curled up watching movies, their bond was visible to anyone who looked. Even after 5 years of marriage, Jack's gaze lingered on Emily with the same tenderness and admiration he had shown on their wedding day. He was convinced he knew her inside and out, certain they were destined soulmates. But with time, subtle changes began slipping into their marriage. Emily, once eager to share every detail of her day, started to withhold pieces of herself. Her laughter grew less frequent, her eyes wandered, and her presence felt distant even when she was right beside him. Jack reassured himself that it must be the stress of her new, demanding marketing job, with its endless hours and frequent trips. Still, unease gnawed at him, an undercurrent he couldn't quiet. The first undeniable crack appeared one Friday evening. Emily was heading out for a girls' night, and Jack encouraged her to enjoy herself. But as the night dragged on and her messages dwindled to almost nothing, an uneasy knot tightened in his stomach. When she finally returned late, smelling faintly of men's cologne, and looking more disheveled than expected after an outing with friends, suspicion flared inside him. Yet he forced himself to push it aside, unwilling to become the kind of husband who doubted his wife without proof. Until now, Emily had never given him a reason not to trust her. 2 weeks later, the second sign revealed itself. Jack was folding laundry beside her when her phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen from an unknown number. "Last night was unforgettable. When can we do it again?" Jack froze, his chest tightening as though he'd been struck. Forcing himself to remain composed, he set the clothes down gently. Emily, catching his expression, quickly snatched her phone and dismissed the text with a forced smile. "Just a silly client joke. Don't think anything of it." Jack managed to smile, but inside his mind reeled. Doubt had rooted itself deeply, impossible to ignore. From that moment, every quirk, every habit he once adored in Emily felt like a clue to something hidden. He grew quieter, more guarded, studying her with a watchful eye. The truth unraveled on a stormy Saturday evening. Emily told him she had to stay late at work again. Jack kissed her goodbye as always, but the weight of suspicion pressed too heavily to ignore. On impulse, he grabbed his keys and followed her at a distance, headlights dimmed. Her car led him across town to a small, dim bar. Jack parked away from view and watched. A tall man with dark hair greeted her warmly at the door, grinning as Emily stepped from her car and wrapped her arms around him. In that instant, Jack's world collapsed. Frozen in his seat, he watched as the woman he loved laughed and disappeared inside with another man. The sight seared into his memory, a nightmare made real. He sat for a long time, numb, before finally driving home to an empty house. Rage, heartbreak, and disbelief swirled together, dulled only by the numbness creeping in. He poured himself drink after drink, each sip blurring the pain just enough to think clearly. Jack knew there was no fixing what had been broken. The woman he had cherished was gone, replaced by someone unrecognizable. But instead of exploding in anger or confrontation, he chose another path. He would let Emily taste the consequences of her betrayal. Over the next week, Jack carried out his plan with deliberate precision. He quietly transferred every penny from their joint accounts into a private one only he could access. Bit by bit, he packed his belongings, careful not to leave a trace of his intentions. He arranged to work remotely, coordinating discreetly with his boss, and prepared to vanish without warning. Emily would return one day to nothing but emptiness. The night before his departure, Jack booked a hotel suite nearby. He knew she would likely be with her lover, which only steeled his resolve. While Emily was gone, he executed his plan flawlessly. On the kitchen counter, he left a single note with 3 sharp words. "I know everything." After one final sweep of the house, now stripped of his presence, he closed the door and walked away, leaving behind only silence and shadows. At the hotel, whiskey in hand, Jack stared at the clock, imagining the moment she'd return home. The shock, the panic, the realization of what she had lost. He hoped she would feel just a fraction of the torment she had caused. At dawn, Emily stumbled inside, the scent of another man still clinging to her clothes. She called for Jack, expecting him upstairs, but silence echoed back. Her eyes fell on the note. Panic surged as she tore through the house, only to find half-empty drawers, bare closets, even their wedding photos gone. She called him again and again, each one straight to voicemail. Her frantic, tearful messages went unanswered. Jack was gone. In the days that followed, her desperation grew. She reached out to his friends, contacted his family, even appeared at his workplace, only to learn he had relocated to a remote position and disappeared from the area. Each unanswered attempt chipped away at her, leaving her suffocated by regret. The man she had betrayed Jack for quickly lost his shine, the fantasy unraveling into disappointment. Alone, Emily was left with nothing but the ruins of the life she had destroyed. Jack, meanwhile, began anew in another city. Surrounded by strangers, he built a fresh life, step by step finding peace and direction again. Looking back, he carried no bitterness, only quiet victory. He had given Emily the freedom she thought she wanted, but in doing so, she trapped herself in loneliness and remorse. And Jack realized that sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't confrontation at all. It's moving forward.